The resonant touch, the grand hall of the celestial temple, glowed with ceremonial light as dignitaries from both worlds gathered for the treaty signing. Terrence stood to the side with the other support staff, no longer part of the translation team, but permitted to attend as a gesture of diplomatic inclusion. His eyes inevitably found Nissa across the vast chamber, resplendent in formal regalia that seemed to capture starlight itself. She performed her ceremonial duties with perfect grace. But Terran could now recognize the subtle tension in her shoulders, the careful control in her expressions. To everyone else, she appeared divine and untouchable. To him, she looked lonely in the midst of hundreds. The signing ceremony stretched for hours, each article of the treaty receiving its own ritual acknowledgement. When it finally concluded, celebrations began, carefully orchestrated. Interactions between the two species that maintained appropriate protocols while fostering a sense of new alliance. Terran was about to slip away when a royal attendant appeared at his side. "Her Luminance requests your presence in the temple observatory," the attendant whispered. "You are to come alone." Heart pounding, Terran followed the attendant through a maze of crystalline corridors until they reached a towering door inscribed with celestial patterns. The attendant bowed and departed without another word. The observatory took Terran's breath away. The domed ceiling was transparent, revealing the swirling nebula and countless stars beyond. In the center stood Nissa, her ceremonial robes replaced by simpler attire, though still elegant and flowing. "I dismissed everyone," she said without preamble. "We have perhaps an hour before questions arise." Terran moved closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "Congratulations on the treaty. It will change the future for both our peoples." "Yes," she said distantly, gazing upward. "Change is coming, one way or another." She turned to face him fully. "I've been researching human customs since we last spoke, about touch, about connection." Her voice grew softer. "About choices made freely, rather than dictated by prophecy." She stepped toward him with deliberate intent. "My entire existence has been defined by what I cannot do, who I cannot be. Tonight, I want to make just one choice for myself." Terran remained still as she approached, understanding the magnitude of what she was considering. "Nissa, if this breaks your customs, my customs have already broken me," she whispered, now standing directly before him. "Just once, I want to know what it feels like. Real connection, not cosmic resonance." Slowly, Terran offered his hand, as he had in the library, palm upward. An invitation, freely given. Nissa looked at his hand, then into his eyes, and freely accepted. When her fingers finally touched his palm, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The initial contact was electric, not metaphorically, but literally. A visible spark of violet-blue energy danced where their skin met, spreading up their arms in luminescent patterns. Nissa gasped, but didn't pull away. "What's happening?" Terran whispered, feeling a strange resonance building between them. "The cosmic energy responds to royal emotions," Nissa breathed, wonder replacing fear in her expression. "But this is ... different." As their hands remained connected, Terran felt his consciousness expanding, melding with hers. Suddenly, he could see her memories, a lonely child watching other children play from behind palace barriers. A young woman performing ancient rituals she didn't fully understand. Years of isolation disguised as reverence. He felt her longing for connection, her fear of disappointing her people, her quiet rebellion in seeking him out. Simultaneously, Nissa was experiencing his memories, the chaotic warmth of family dinners, the thrill of his first linguistic breakthrough, his fascination with the stars that had led him to this career, and his growing feelings for her that transcended diplomatic protocol and cultural differences. The energy between them intensified, spiraling outward to fill the observatory with dancing lights that mirrored the nebula above. The stars themselves seemed to pulse in rhythm with their heartbeats. When they finally reluctantly broke contact, both were breathing heavily, forever changed by what they had shared. That was... Terran struggled to find words in any of the languages he knew. "Impossible," Nissa finished for him, her eyes wide. "The cosmic resonance has never manifested this way. It's only supposed to respond to celestial forces, not to another person." Terran looked at his hand, still tingling from her touch. What does it mean? Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the temple. Through the observatory dome, they could see unusual stellar activity, the nebula swirling with new intensity, stars pulsing in unnatural patterns. The door burst open as Stellar Elder Kyler rushed in, his face contorted with shock when he saw them standing close together. "What have you done?" he demanded, looking from Nisa to the astronomical anomalies visible above. "The cosmic equilibrium is disturbed. The prophecies spoke of danger, but not this connection with an outsider." Guards flooded into the room, separating them. As Terran was dragged away, he caught one last glimpse of Nisa's face, no longer showing fear or regret, but determination and something that looked remarkably like hope. "This isn't over," he called out to her, even as the guards tightened their grip. "No," she answered, her voice carrying over the chaos. "It's just beginning." Above them, the stars continued their unusual dance, as if affirming her words with their ancient light. Cosmic consequences, diplomatic immunity only extends so far. Specialist Cairo. Admiral Reza Dahan paced the length of Terran's quarters, which had effectively become his prison for the past 3 days. "The Lunari Stellar Council is demanding your immediate removal from their system." Terran sat on the edge of his bed, still feeling the phantom connection with Nisa despite their separation. "They're afraid of what happened, and what exactly did happen." The Admiral stopped pacing, fixing Terran with a penetrating stare. "The reports mention astronomical anomalies, violations of royal protocol, and something about cosmic resonance disruption. What I need is the truth. The truth." Terran laughed quietly. "The truth is that everything they've believed about their royal lineage is simultaneously right and wrong. The cosmic connection is real, but it's not what they think." He described the resonance that had formed between him and Nisa, careful to frame it in scientific terms rather than emotional ones. The shared consciousness, the visible energy, the stellar response, all unprecedented phenomena that defied both human science and Lunari spiritual doctrine. Admiral Dahan sighed heavily. "The Alliance Council is convening an emergency session. Half of them want to abandon the treaty entirely rather than risk cosmic retribution or whatever the Lunari elders are threatening." "That would be a catastrophic mistake," Terran argued. "What happened wasn't a disruption, it was a revelation. The resonance doesn't isolate their royals. It's meant to connect them. To us, possibly to other species." A sharp knock interrupted them. Commander Lin entered, her expression grim. "Admiral, we're receiving unusual transmissions from across the system. Multiple vessels report navigational anomalies. The nebula's radiation patterns have shifted." "Is it dangerous?" the Admiral asked. "Unknown, sir. But it's accelerating and ... She hesitated, glancing at Terran. "The princess has been placed under restricted protocols. Rumor says she's being taken to their ancestral temple for purification." Terran stood abruptly. "They can't do that. The rituals were designed for spiritual renewal, but they're essentially sensory deprivation. If they perform them now, while she's connected to the resonance this way, this is not your concern anymore." Specialist Admiral Dahan interrupted. "You're being sent back to Earth on the next transport. The diplomatic corps will handle this situation." After they left, Terran paced his quarters, mind racing. Through their connection, he had glimpsed ancient Lunari knowledge that even Nisa hadn't fully understood. The purification rituals weren't just spiritually restrictive, they were designed to sever connections, to isolate the royal consciousness from external influences. If performed on Nisa now, the resonance between them might be permanently destroyed. He closed his eyes, focusing on the lingering connection. While nowhere near as strong as when they had touched, he could still sense her distant emotions of frustration and determination. She was resisting, but her options were limited. The ship's alert system suddenly blared out. Through his viewport, Terran saw why the nebula surrounding the Lunari homeworld was changing color, shifting from its normal blue-green to vivid purple hues that matched Nisa's skin. Stars throughout the system pulsed in synchronized rhythm. His door slid open without warning. Dr. Soren Vega stood there, breathing heavily. "The instruments are going crazy," the anthropologist said. Every measurement of cosmic radiation, stellar vibration, even gravity itself fits all changing. He thrust a datapad toward Terran. Look familiar? The display showed a waveform, pattern identical to the one that had appeared on Terrence and Nisa's skin when they touched. How did you get this? Terran asked. It's appearing everywhere in atmospheric readings, in communication signals. Even the Lunari architectural patterns are starting to resonate with it. Soren's eyes were wide with academic excitement. Whatever you two started, it's spreading throughout their entire civilization. Celestial harmony, the diplomatic shuttle sliced through the transformed nebula, trailing ribbons of luminescent energy behind it. Lieutenant Chen navigated with extraordinary skill, using the gravitational fluctuations to mask their approach to the sacred moon. For picking up unusual energy readings from the temple complex, Dr. Vega reported from the sensor station. The resonance pattern has intensified tenfold in the last hour. Terrence stood behind them, one hand pressed against the viewport. The connection with Nisa had grown almost overwhelming, a symphony of emotions and images cascading through his mind. They've started the purification ritual. I can feel her fighting it. Ambassador Voss, still uncomfortable with the entire operation, adjusted her formal diplomatic sash. Remember our agreement. We attempt diplomatic intervention first. No unauthorized actions. The shuttle settled on a small plateau half a kilometer from the temple complex. Through the viewport, they could see the ancient structure built into the moon's surface, its spires reaching toward the nebula as if in supplication. Security perimeter ahead, Chen warned as they disembarked. Minimal guards, but they'll have detection systems. They won't need them, Terran said, pointing skyward above them. The nebula had formed a distinct spiral pattern centered directly over the temple. Streams of energy visibly connected the stellar phenomenon to the temple's central dome. Incredible, breathed Soren, recording everything on his datapad. The cosmic resonance is manifesting physically. This defies everything we know about stellar dynamics. Ambassador Voss squared her shoulders. Let's proceed. Official diplomatic party responding to the astronomical anomalies. They approached the temple entrance, where two Lunari guards stood at attention. Before Voss could present her credentials, the guards exchanged glances and stepped aside. We were told to expect you, one said. His expression unreadable. Inside, the ancient stone corridors thrummed with energy. The same patterns Terran had seen on Nisa's skin now illuminated the walls. Pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat, they were met by Elder Lyria, her expression grave but not unwelcoming. The human translator, she said, looking directly at Terran. My niece's consciousness calls for you, even through the purification bindings. Least Terran stepped forward. The purification will damage the connection, not restore it. What's happening isn't a corruption, it's a fulfillment. Lyria studied him intently. That is my belief as well. But Elder Kyler and the Stellar Council disagree. They've barricaded themselves in the inner sanctum to complete the ritual. Ambassador Voss stepped forward. As representative of the Earth Alliance, I formally request an immediate halt to any procedures affecting Princess Nissa until the cosmic anomalies can be properly studied. These phenomena clearly have interstellar implications. Diplomatic protocols have little sway here, Lyria replied. This is our most sacred site, governed by traditions older than our space travel. She turned to Terran. However, there may be another way. The resonance itself. She led them deeper into the temple, explaining as they hurried through ancient corridors. Our histories speak of a time when the royal lineage used the cosmic resonance to connect with the universe, not just observe it. If what's happening between you and Nisa is a reawakening of that ability, ... They reached an ornate door inscribed with the same spiral pattern now visible in the nebula. This chamber connects directly to the inner sanctum through old ceremonial passages. If you can strengthen your connection with her, perhaps you can reach her before the purification completes. Inside the chamber, a circular pool of what appeared to be liquid starlight filled the center of the floor, reflecting the nebula visible through a crystal dome overhead. The reflecting pool, Lyria explained. It amplifies cosmic energies. If your connection is genuine, it will respond. Terran approached the pool's edge. What do I do? Focus on her. On the connection between you. Lyria placed a ceremonial object in his hand, a small crystal similar to those used in Lunari communication technology. This will help channel your thoughts. As Teren knelt beside the pool, Ambassador Voss stepped forward. We should consider alternative approaches. There's no time, Soren interrupted, checking his instruments. The energy pattern is reaching critical resonance. Whatever's going to happen will happen soon, with or without our intervention. Teren closed his eyes. Gripping the crystal and focusing all his thoughts on Nissa, the connection between them flared instantly, stronger than ever before. Through her eyes, he could see the inner sanctum. Feel the ceremonial bindings around her wrists. Sense Elder Kyler's growing panic as the purification ritual failed to suppress the resonance. The liquid in the pool began to glow in response. Spiraling upward in a column of light that engulfed Teren, the others stepped back in alarm. But he barely noticed, lost in the connection. Nissa. He projected his thoughts through the resonance. I'm here, in the temple. The reflecting pool. Her response came as clearly as if she stood beside him. The ancient passage. They've forgotten it exists, in the inner sanctum.
Ow.
Nissa suddenly broke free from her ceremonial bindings, the resonance energy shattering them like glass. Elder Kyler and his acolytes scrambled backward as she stood, her entire body illuminated with the same energy that filled the nebula above. This ends now, she announced, her voice carrying an authority that silenced their objections. Not the connection, your fear of it. She moved to a section of wall behind the altar and pressed her hand against an ancient symbol. Stone ground against stone as a hidden doorway revealed itself in the reflecting pool chamber. Teren opened his eyes as a previously invisible door swung open. Standing in the doorway, radiant with cosmic energy, was Nissa. The moment their eyes met, the resonance between them surged. The entire temple trembled as energy cascaded through the ancient structure. Above them, the nebula blazed with renewed intensity, stars pulsing in perfect harmony. Nissa crossed the chamber in swift strides. This time, there was no hesitation when she extended her hand toward Teren. He took it without fear, and the resonance between them exploded into visibility, a swirling aurora of energy that spiraled upward through the dome and into the nebula itself. Their shared consciousness expanded beyond the temple. Beyond the moon, beyond even the star system, they glimpsed the vast cosmic web connecting all things and humanities and the lunaries' places within it. Elder Kyla and his acolytes burst into the chamber, then froze at the spectacle before them. Ambassador Voss, Dr. Vega, and Lieutenant Chen stood equally transfixed as the cosmic display continued to intensify. Do you see now? Nissa's voice echoed with power beyond her physical form. The resonance was never meant to isolate. It was meant to connect. Teren's consciousness still merged with hers, added. Not just connect Lunari to the cosmos, but to connect species across the stars. The isolation was a misinterpretation of your most sacred texts. The energy between them continued to build, reaching out to touch everyone in the chamber. For a brief, transcendent moment, all present human and Lunari alike shared in the cosmic connection, feeling the underlying unity beneath their differences as the resonance gradually stabilized. Teren and Nissa remained hand in hand, the energy between them settling into a sustainable equilibrium. The nebula above resumed its new purple hue, but the violent fluctuations ceased, placed by a gentle, rhythmic pulsing. Elder Lyria was the first to speak. The ancient prophecies. When divided consciousness rejoins, the stars themselves will celebrate. We misunderstood for so long. Elder Kyler, his lifelong certainty shattered, slowly lowered himself to his knees. What does this mean for our people? For the royal lineage? It means evolution, not revolution, Nissa said gently. The cosmic connection remains, but its purpose is clearer now. Not to separate us from others, but to help us understand our place among them. Ambassador Voss, ever the diplomat, recognized the historic opportunity. Perhaps this development calls for an expansion of our treaty, one that acknowledges this new cosmic understanding. In the days that followed, scientists and spiritual leaders from both worlds gathered to study what was now being called the resonance convergence. The treaty was indeed revised, creating a new joint research initiative with Terran and Nissa. As its first directors, the strict protocols surrounding the Lunari royal lineage were gradually reformed. While the cosmic connection remained sacred, it was now understood as a bridge rather than a barrier. Nissa became the first royal in generations to freely move among her people and to openly interact with other species. The connection between Terran and Nissa remained, unique a physical manifestation of the potential for harmony between different worlds. Their relationship, once forbidden, became symbolic of the new era of cooperation. On the night before the revised treaty signing, they stood together in the observatory where they had first touched, watching the transformed nebula that now bore their names in both human and Lunari star charts. "Did you ever imagine," Nissa asked softly, her hand comfortably entwined with his, "that breaking protocol would change the cosmos itself?" Terran smiled, the resonance between them humming contentedly. "I only wanted to know you. The universe simply decided to approve."